Well, we've got a jam-packed weekend of sport over the next few days, and joining us now to discuss the latest sporting stories are sports broadcaster Jonathan Higgins and Shane Brennan from the Irish Independent. Lads, you're very welcome. Because it's still on the back pages of so many papers, we'll start with the World Cup. And what I always determine, Jonathan, as the most meaningless game in any tournament, the third and fourth place playoff, it's England against France. I think both teams as well walk away with bronze medals at the end of it. Look, tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, it's a game of football. We'll probably throw our eyes towards it, looking at two squads of people who don't really want to be there.
I hope you're not trying to make me do a marketing ploy for the benefits of this. Like, what's the old slogan? It's coming home. They want to go home. It's an old slow bicycle race, isn't it? Like, it's very much a case of, oh, just get this out of the way, lads. It's very much a case of modern sport, isn't it? Just try and get another game to take off in terms of advertisement and TV viewership and stuff like that. It's hard to describe in any sort of tangible credibility what this game will achieve or what both sides will be trying to achieve from it. I think you're probably looking at selfish reasons, and primarily with Thomas Tuchel, who was on a big load of dough from the English FA, and he has got rightfully criticised strongly for his shambolic tactics. We don't need to go into it again the other night, and he's getting a lot of heat back home. So I think he will want to try and do something and get a victory here and say, look, lads, we finished third, and to be great, do X, Y, and Z, because the heat has been very much on him. And it is interesting. I'm not quite sure if he's trying to pull the wool over everyone's eyes that blatantly saw what achieved or what happened on the pitch, where he's going, no, it was this, it wasn't that, it wasn't the tactics, and you're all geniuses, and then you go down that sort of line. They need a reaction, probably. Usually in these scenarios you see like players that haven't probably got a lot of game time getting a few minutes, etc.
Part of me is wondering, like, even though Jordan Henderson's a broken arm, we're just going to play him for the crack in this match, considering that there's nothing really to play for, apart from the big thing. I guess the talking point is the fact that Mbappe and Messi are both on 8 goals. The goals in this match, even though it has no real effect, do count towards the Golden Boot race. I think a colleague pointed out that 3 former Golden Boot winners have benefited from scoring in the third place playoff. So that's the big thing to worry for. But I think, to your point, the greatest thing about the World Cup is the fact that in the group stages, I will happily sit down and watch Uzbekistan play Mars and get really into it. But this third place playoff, or bronze final as they're now rebranding it, is something which in what is a fantastic weekend of sport. I can't imagine it's going to get too many people listening, unless England do some sort of crazy weird collapse where they decide to only have 11% possession in the last 20 minutes and make an even better their collapse against Argentina, but I doubt that's going to happen.
Play 11 defenders and still leave a free man in the 6-yard box for a header.
There we go. Like, we've seen that movie before, haven't we, ultimately? But it is, like, the backlash, I suppose, we're a bit more akin to it now in terms of the papers and, you know, both fronts. The political landscape gets a little bit of a mention as well after the poster, the banner that was displayed afterwards. But the backlash is probably something similar in France as well with the Deschamps, because, look, he changed his tactics.
He played 2 against 3 in midfield. Yeah,
pretty much, and that's that whole kind of... He went against his principles, really, didn't he, with the 4 guys up top, and it just didn't work, and they flopped on the stage. So it's very hard to, like, as you touched on, Shane, there's so much sport on this weekend. It's really hard. Like, we'll still watch it because it's there and beyond, and the timing is a little bit more suitable in terms of it doesn't really clash with anything, but at the same time, it's just one of these games, get it done, because they're all thinking about Premier League, and you see teams back already, new managers in situ.
Yeah. Anyway, look, like you said, eyes will move towards it tomorrow. You can see what happens. Let's move on, because we had club European football on. 2 games last night involving Irish clubs, and in Derry, Shane.
Yeah.
Like, Derry took the lead, and then chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for anybody who hasn't seen what happened last night, CSKA Sofia came in to the Briny Well, and after Derry went 1-0 up in a game which was to equalise, and there was building momentum, the CSKA fans started causing trouble. And what was really shocking about this is the fact that the section where the CSKA fans were trying to get into the Briny Well was beside the family section. The game was delayed for 15 minutes because it was, you see the videos, predominantly children running out into the field, running away from these quite scary-looking men, who've come in as part of the ultras from Sofia. And I think this is very unfortunate, because one of the greatest things I love about when these European games are on is we get all these European fans adding great colour to our cities. But this was a case where we really got the bad side of football fandom. And then in the end, once the game eventually did restart, Sofia ended up getting 2 goals. Derry completely lost momentum. So it's kind of even more painful that, as much as there's a really bad experience for fans, particularly, like I was saying, families and children off the pitch, for the scenes we saw in the Brandywell. And then for Sofia to benefit from that on the pitch as well is particularly hurtful, and it does feel quite painful and quite annoying, I think, for anybody from an Irish or a Derry City perspective. They still have a Conference League match against a Croatian side to look forward to next week, so they're not out of European football yet. But yeah, absolutely shocking, disgraceful scenes up in Derry from the Bulgarian fans.
Unfortunately, though, it's a common theme and it's a common issue, and it's a bigger than football an issue in terms of, we've seen many League of Ireland games as well. Security at the Brandywell, and probably more accurately, just anyone that's been there, that little car park area at the back of the Greyhound track is a big issue, unfortunately. And look, we saw just to rub salt into wounds, as you saw the Muppet running after, trying to get off the CSKA goalkeeper as well. So just a vile, horrible night all around, capitalised really, or highlighted really, with the fact that they're out as well. But yeah, just not a nice night.
Not nice. There was a little bit of a melee in Gibraltar between St. Joseph's and Bohemians when Francis Farron decided that he'd grab Dawson Devoy by the face.
Yeah, I saw Tierney's another one, is in a good old-fashioned kind of arm wrestler around the neck as well. Yeah, 0-0, but by all accounts, plenty of shots on target on it. But a great result for Bohs, following on from a fantastic night to start off the European week for
Shamrock
Rovers as well.
They're in action tonight, FAI Cup, in a repeat of last season's final against Cork.
And it's a strange one, isn't it? Because this is a free hit ultimately for Cork City, or cruising in terms of the yo-yo scenario that they've turned out to be in the first division. But it does feel like a little bit of a free hit. It was such an emotive night in Tallaght Stadium, one of the best European nights in Irish football the other night, but they were at it from the off. A fantastic victory, 5 goals. But we'll have to see now what sort of an impact it leaves on Stephen Bradley's side. They'll probably help the fact they didn't play a league game last weekend, so a little bit more refreshed on that regard. But I believe they're possibly, if they're not going straight from Cork to Armenia, there's going to be very little time before they come back to Dublin, before they go for their next leg in the second round of the Champions League qualifiers next week. But for Cork, you feel like it's a big opportunity. And I get flashbacks to when Galway ran away with the league first division a couple of years ago. They had a good cup run because they could ultimately concentrate on the cup. So, but it is a difficult ask. But you would say, look, the only thing that will give you, I suppose, hope from a Cork perspective is they've plenty of firepower in their side as well. Rory Keating, Seanie Maguire, who all know how to score in Tallaght. So yeah, no, it should be an interesting cup tie. Probably tie the round.
Should be. We've got the ladies football semi-finals to look forward to as well this weekend. It's Armagh against Galway, Kerry against Dublin. People are saying it's going to be a Kerry-Galway final. I think that's a big call to make.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny looking at this. I mean, look, Kerry with Chief O'Shea in great scoring form is coming into this, I think, with a lot of confidence, a lot of hunger as well after falling at the semi-final, final stage the last couple of years against a Dublin team who, look, as much as they've relied on 2 late goals, defensively they've been pretty strong over the course of the championship, and I think they're going to put up a tougher test than some people are expecting. On the Armagh-Galway game, though, I think if you look at the way Emmy Mackin has played, especially the way that they've changed tactically, in that she's not necessarily a sort of target player up front now, she's come in more. We saw a couple of fantastic goals she was able to score if she gets ball and able to move forward in the parts of the Ulster Championship. I think Armagh might be more dangerous. Don't want to say anything against Galway, but I think Armagh might be more dangerous than we think. They haven't played in a final since 2006, so that one's going to be interesting. I do think Kerry's going to get the job done against a Dublin team who have lost a lot of players. From last year. In fairness,
they were lucky against Cork as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Extremely so.
We're running out of time, but let's just mention the Nations Rugby Championship because we got a cracking game tomorrow morning, 8:10. It's Ireland against New Zealand.
I'm sorry, I'll flip everything I said about the World Cup third place playoff. This is the one that you want to get out of bed a little bit earlier and maybe even put the iPad on the other side of the cushion or the duvet and have a look at early doors. It's a huge game to look forward to, really, isn't it? I think this is the benefits of the competition like this, that you get this in terms of a bit of credibility and a bit of structure in terms of the competitive nature as well. That being said, talking about competitive nature is a difficult challenge. Haven't been beaten there since '94. There's a good chunk of the Irish team that weren't even born the last time.
I don't know. I mean, like, we've seen so many times with this Andy Farrell team that when we don't really expect them to come out with a fantastic performance, they come out and bring it. And considering how poor the line-out's been, how poor, I think the scrum is definitely an area that the All Blacks are going to target tomorrow morning. You can definitely see a situation where they're going to come out and really sort of keep that tight and look, when Andy Farrell is given an Everest to climb, with the exception of the World Cup quarterfinals, he's generally been able to find.
He brings the Bovril.
Yeah, exactly. So great to see Rob Balogun back in the side. By the way,
9 changes.
It should be a good performance.
And Jimmy O'Brien's in there too.
Sean Jansen as well. Don't forget the Connacht.
He's going to be on the bench.
The Connacht side as well. Yeah, no, it's definitely something to get the alarm clock set for and get out and start a good, big, busy sporting weekend.
It's going to be great. Thank you. What an out.
There we go.
You say that's why he gets the big bucks. All right, boys. Thanks. Good to see you. The final run of Nations Championship games will be available on Virgin Media 1 and Virgin Media Play, with coverage starting, strap yourself in, tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m.